Good morning. I'm so excited to see you again, Alicia. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Good morning to you, Nicole.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So when we last spoke, we were just talking about the incredible progress that we'd made. I think it was actually just through the month of May.
Yes.
And I'd like to just continue from that because it just seems like month on month on month, we've just had more miracles, more celebrations, more progress that's been made. And I think that's where we ended off last time. So if you just want to dive right in with...
I will dive right in. So, the month of May, that was my first time, my first month working with you and your team. And after that first month, things had switched gears a bit because in May, you and your team had basically, you were training me to receive as much healing potential as possible through forgiveness work and gratitude work, and making sure that I was doing the meditation on twin hearts correctly and the exercise that is required before and after. And I had slowly through the month of May incorporated that into my daily healing ritual. So starting in June, I was no longer meeting with all of you Monday through Friday, but instead I was now having 3 healings with you, and I was doing my own gratitude and forgiveness meditation on twin hearts work. And it's so fascinating because at first maybe my husband was like, this is long distance healing. Like, you're not going into Nicole's center. Like, how does this even work? And, I still am not entirely sure of exactly how it works. But the one thing I do know is when I had these healing sessions, and especially the ones that were with no Zoom, where I knew it was happening at 3 p.m. my time, I would head into our living room and either sit comfortably or lay on my sofa. And I always knew that something was happening because in my mind's eye, there was, I don't know, it was like this light or activity, like energetic activity. And when it was over, it was almost like the light switched off and then something just felt different. What it was, I don't know. And then I would always end up getting a message from like someone from Nicole Center, be like, okay, our session is over. It was great. And I was like, what? Like, how is that even possible? Like, I sort of knew it was over, and it was like, there was something happening. And then sometimes I would just simply fall asleep. I was just in this, beautiful, relaxed state, and I would fall asleep. But either way, if I woke up because I felt like something had stopped after the healing was over, or if I fell asleep, each time I would wake up energized. I just felt so alive and like, I can't explain it, but just filled with love, like just felt so grateful for life. And, I'd always skip out of the living room and head to the kitchen and I just wanted to hug and kiss my children and just enjoy whatever was happening with my family. So that was always the consistent like response to a healing session is the energy and like the feeling of love. It always occurs regardless. And if I don't have a healing session that day, I can always rely on meditation on twin hearts. If something triggers me, or if I'm having a really off day, I meditate. And that meditation is deeply powerful. And I always feel energized and so much better after that meditation.
Amazing.
It's, yeah. And another, like an example, I remember it was in early June. I had a healing session with you, and the next morning I got out of bed, and this is like when my leg was feeling fantastic. I was walking on it beautifully, and I just like glided out of the bedroom and headed towards the kitchen. And as I walked in, we have quite a long, like large kitchen. My husband was on the other end, and he was like, you know, I don't know, boiling water in the tea kettle. And I was like walking towards him, and he was like looking at me oddly. And I was just like, oh my God, like, is something wrong with the way I look? And I'm like, what's wrong? And he's like, I don't know, like, you're just sort of like, it almost like, I feel like you're gliding into the room. And like you have this glow of light around you. I don't know how to explain it, but you're just glowing. And that's how I felt walking into the room. It was like he was seeing what I was feeling. I felt incredible, and he could see it. And my husband, you know, he's sort of on a spiritual journey now, but like he really wasn't at that time. But he was just like, what was that? And I was just like, it must be because of the healing. Like I feel this way every time I have these healing sessions. And it was just so validating to like have my husband visibly see something. It wasn't because it was
I can fully understand what he's saying, because I still remember that very first sort of couple of sessions we had, and the mental, emotional, physical space that you were in. And then just sort of week on week, month on month, it was just like a little flower blooming, you know, your energy was growing. You were becoming more peaceful, more radiant. You were healing. You know, we've seen that week on week, every Monday when you signed in for the healings. It was just wow, you know, it's something we look forward to every Monday, because we just see the progress that's happened even just in the last week. It's been phenomenal. So, and it is a very good validation, because in some ways it is hard to quantify. What are you feeling? You know, you're on the other side of the world. I'm in Tampa, you're in Sweden, and there's a tangible effect happening that defies sometimes our logic and what we can perceive. And there definitely is something happening energetically within your system.
Energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's see what else. I mean, it was such a fruitful month. And that was literally just the first week of June. Hold on, I have notes.
And that's been a good thing while you're looking for your notes, is that you've journaled so much.
Yes.
And I can't remember when you did start journaling, but we just had a feeling you have to document this, because so much has happened literally week on week. I was like, man, you could actually write a book on this whole experience and what you've had. But last time, even when you were referring back to some of your notes, I was like, oh my goodness, I'd forgotten about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, same here. And I feel like there's probably more that I did not write down that I wish I had, but there is so much, and I am grateful for that. Okay, so another, for me, it was a very memorable moment with Pranic healing. It was on June 14th. And this was the last day of school for the children. And, you know, we had a really, really hard year up until then. And we decided, and I was able to walk to the car, get in the car and drive with my husband and go to their school and pick them up on the last day, which, you know, I had not been able to do for the beginning of the year. And just the fact that I was able to do that was monumental. But then afterwards, we decided we wanted to have like a family gathering to sort of celebrate the last day of school. So it was beautiful and it was warm. So we decided to head to the beach. And this just happened to be the same beach that I had gone to in early April. And this is after an initial meeting with a doctor after I had CT scans done. And they basically knew. They're like, you have cancer. You need to have a biopsy done now. And to hear those words on that day, it was so devastating. And I just remember, like, in my head on repeat, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. And the only thing I wanted to do after we left that appointment and the children were with us, we didn't even think that I would have been told something like that. So my husband and I are trying to keep it together in the front of the car while the kids are in the back seat. And I was like, I want to go to the beach. And we had gone to the same beach as we were heading on the last day of school. And what a vastly, vastly different experience. Because in April, after getting that news, I just wanted to rip off my shoes. I wanted to put my feet in the sand. I wanted to like feel that cold Nordic water on my feet to just like wake me up and shake me out of like the doom and gloom that I was experiencing. And 2.5 months later, I was heading to that very same beach with my children after I had picked them up from school and walking normally, walking through the dunes, and the big, beautiful white sandy beach opened up, and it was this gorgeous sunny day. And I felt so alive, so energized. Like I couldn't even believe that I could feel so vastly different after only 2.5 months. And it was a glorious day. We spread out a blanket, we had a picnic, the children were laughing, and I was like, not running around, but walking around on the beach and just enjoying and participating. I was participating in life again instead of being on the outside because I was too sick or in bed or just couldn't walk. And I remember sending you pictures because I just couldn't believe it. Like after that day, I was like, oh my God, look at this amazing day I had. And I felt so much gratitude, so blessed. I felt like on that day or maybe many days before or after, I was like, I am going to live. I am going to get through this. I now know that, a cancer diagnosis it's not hopeless. Like there is hope. And that day, it really, it was a really important day, I think, because it was only a month into Pranic healing and my treatment, but I felt so motivated and energized to just keep plowing forward fearlessly.
And that is so true on so many levels, because just as we've connected, we've just seen how the smallest things are the biggest things. And I think that's the thing with you, where you said you're participating in life again. Sometimes we are just asleep and we're not involved, and we take those precious moments for granted. And I think you doing that forgiveness work, doing that gratitude work, and really like counting your blessings all the time,
Yes.
suddenly realize that moment on the beach, that picnic, that time with the family is actually all we really want. And it's fulfilling on so many levels. And we realize, my gosh, how much have I taken for granted in my life?
Yes.
And I think that's been part of the journey as well, is actually just seeing you just immerse in this most beautiful family life and really living each day and loving each moment and having gratitude for so much. And I think that's really the important part of having that hope, counting your blessings, experiencing that gratitude. For me, that feels like the magic ingredient on a level to really push through this, because in so many ways, this diagnosis for you has been a lifesaver. I mean, I imagine like the title of a book, like Cancer Saved My Life, in a certain way, because how you were living before and how you're living now, I mean, it's like two completely different stories.
Yes, precisely. Beautifully said. It's absolutely. I don't take anything for granted now. Everything is a gift. And we get so caught up in our daily lives that we don't even realize what's really important. And I now know, I know what's important. And I'm so grateful for it.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're awesome. Thank
Oh
you
my
for
God.
that again.
Yeah, I have more. I haven't. I mean, we have a great story. This one. Let's see. My vision is not so good when I have to read my phone. here we go. Well, there's two. There's one that focuses on, and this was amazing because, oh my God, the support that I got from you and your team was so incredible. It was when I had my CT scan done on my neck, and I was not sure if I was going to need to have surgery or just targeted radiation. And in my neck, this was actually a few days before I started working with you and started my first line of cancer treatment. I woke up in the middle of the night with excruciating pain. It was unbearable. I was taking the maximum dose of painkillers, taking hot showers, and I couldn't move. Anytime I moved my neck, I would scream in pain. My husband was amazing, but we ended up having to like sit me up. I had to sleep sitting up. And because of that, we had a CT scan done on my neck. And it revealed that I had further spread and damage to my C4 vertebra. And that led to them sending those scans to a neurosurgeon in Sweden and them saying, no, we don't think surgery is needed, but maybe targeted radiation is the best first line of treatment right now. I wasn't entirely 100% confident in what was shared with me in Sweden. So I ended up finding a neurosurgeon in Finland that also reviewed it. And I was so relieved that this neurosurgeon also said the same thing, that you probably don't need surgery right now, possibly at a later date, but targeted radiation is okay. And I just remember, you were there for me the entire time, supporting, rooting for me and cheering me on, because it felt like such great news to get radiation, even though no one wants to get radiation because there's side effects and it's horribly scary. It's for me, it felt less scary than surgery because I knew there would be a 2-month recovery. But it was something that, you kept saying, but this is something we can support, like we can help with this. And I distinctly remember after I had my first, my radiation was 2 treatments, 5-minute treatments, 1 week apart. And after the first one, I had pretty bad side effects. My neck and jaw felt like I had been punched or in a fight. It was very painful. And I also had really terrible, my eyes were terribly swollen and bloodshot. They were bright red. You can see a bit of white in my eyes. And I remember I had organized a healing session with you in my hotel room in Finland, because I'm actually getting private care at a cancer center in Finland. So I flew up there with my family for my first visit to get CT scans and lab work done to see how things were progressing with me. And I remember going into the bathroom because it was a Zoom call, and I was like, oh, I wanted to fix up a bit. And I was in the bathroom putting on some lip balm and looking in my eyes. I'm like, oh my gosh, they were so bloodshot. And I went, had my session with you, and afterwards I had just gone to the bathroom because I had to go to the bathroom, and the mirror was right there. And I looked, I'm like, wait. And I looked up close, and the whites of my eyes were visible again. There was one eye where it was less red, but the other eye was there was it was not bloodshot at all. It was just perfectly white. And I just thought, I'm like, am I imagining this? And then my husband came back in about 10 minutes later with the children, and he looked at me and he was like, wait a second. And he literally noticed, he's like, your eyes, they look so much better. What happened? He's like, one doesn't even look like it's, it's been bloodshot. And I don't know, it just felt like such a magical moment. And again, I'm just grateful how that happened. I'm not entirely sure. Energy, I'm so blessed for the beauty of the energetic healing, but it just made the rest of my time in Finland there so much better, because the sun was really bright the days that we were there. And anytime I like looked in the sun, my eyes would tear up and it was very painful. And I would have to close my eyes and then I couldn't like see or walk. And then after that, like we had gone to a zoo with the children and like, I didn't have any of that, those painful experiences because we were out in direct sunlight. So for me, that was a very memorable moment. And it also was just this moment of like, wow, pranic healing, like, wow, this is amazing. So yes, so that occurred. And while I was in Finland and I was there getting CT scans and lab work done, and then a couple of days later, I met with my oncologist. And I just remember, you know, walking in, and I felt really good, but I would have like felt like amazing if he just said, you know, the cancer cells have stopped mutating. The spread is like stopped. And he looked at me, I sat down and he's like, I have really great news. I was like, okay. And he informed me that my primary tumor, which is my lung tumor, had reduced in size by 25%. And that I had 3 tumors in my liver. 2 of the 3 just disappeared. They were gone. And the 3rd one was smaller. There was
on its own.
It felt miraculous because, you know, based on the inhibitor drug I'm on, I just never expected to hear that. I would have been thrilled if he said things have just like stopped spreading. So, you know, and then there was like one bit with, because I have also bone metastasis where they based on this, what the scans were revealing, it looked like there was possibly new bone metastasis, but based on you know, previous situations, like, but this could very likely be healing and not spreading. But they didn't know 100% sure. But later, after the next round of CT scans, we did learn that it was definitely healing and there was no new spreading in my skeleton. That day, it felt like a true like miracle. I was just so elated, so elated. Yeah.
I love revisiting all of this because I can remember, you know,
yes, and I remember sending you the report.
I remember, and we were so excited, and all of us were in separate places because, you know, we all worked remotely. We weren't even all in the same place, and we were all on Zoom together. And, you know, as your messages came through, I mean, we were celebrating with you.
Yes, you were, and you have been during this entire journey.
And celebrating all the small victories, and the small victories become bigger victories. And again, it's just being grateful for that one moment of, I feel a little bit less pain. I feel a little bit less anxious. I feel a little bit more energetic. Just celebrating those small victories and focusing on that, you actually attract more of that coming in. And you've just done it so beautifully. You've been so receptive and so trusting of the process, which has been remarkable in itself. You know, I find with a lot of clients, there's a little bit more like encouraging, like you really should be doing this. And sometimes I take it as a suggestion. You really took it as like, this is what I need to be doing. And you followed through with all the guidelines we laid out for you. And I mean, you really just trusted and went with it. And I think that is just so beautiful that it was so familiar for you. Every time we worked with you, it just felt like your system was so, you know, in tune with what we were doing. It was amazing. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So we'll meet.
I feel like I have more stories
next week.
Same time, same place.
Same time, same place next week. There's just so much to share, and I mean, really, that was 3 amazing stories just in one short little video.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
I guess we'll speak again about July next.
Absolutely.